So is Shadow of the Erdtree any good? Well, sometimes it's really difficult to quantify the enjoyment regarding FromSoft games because there are a lot of different types of players that seek distinct experiences from these games and expansions. There are people who only play for the lore, others might just like to co-op with friends or PvP and so on. So needless to say, this video is based on my personal subjective opinion and experiences with SOT. After finishing the main events of this DLC, I was left with a lot of conflicting thoughts. For everything that he does right, there's always another that brings it down, almost preventing it from achieving greatness, which is kind of how I feel about the base game as well. My first playthrough was purely solo, I didn't engage with co-op or PvP, and for the most part, I had a really good time with this expansion. The presentation is beautiful, and all the environments are gorgeous. This map has some of the best looking areas FromSoft has ever made, and it's also huge. Multiple times I thought I was on the edge of the map just to find another map fragment which expanded it even more. However, the level design, specifically in the open world, got me very frustrated at times. It's really cool when you are in the edge of a cliff and you see another chunk of land on the other side, and a valley down below and mountains up above, but it feels like the game does everything it possibly can to prevent you from getting to certain places. There were multiple occasions when I reached a new place completely on accident, by dropping in a tree with torrent or by abusing the game's geometry to jump up gravestones, only to realize that this was the wrong way of reaching said location. But after scouting the area for hours looking for a new path, I just had to try something out of desperation. And that didn't feel particularly good. When I have to look around for hours just to find a way to reach a location that is right in front of me, I really don't see how that can be considered a good level design. It's just a more sophisticated way of artificial difficulty. Also, the map really doesn't help either. On the contrary, actually, it makes you even more confused. Even if you had all the map pieces from the beginning, it wouldn't help, because after a few hours, exploration becomes a matter of trying to decipher where exactly the map is lying to you. Oh, maybe I can reach this area from here. Nope. Unreachable. Maybe if I continue this path, I'm going to get to this green. Nope, we're going underground, baby. Hell yeah. No idea why they even bother to give the player a map if it can't be trusted. And yes, I understand that they are trying to be different and to give a novel approach to open world level design, but when you hide an entire area, which is like 20% of the map, plus a legacy dungeon behind an illusory wall, it becomes very hard to defend this kind of practice. I think FromSoft is so focused on the concept of making everything difficult that they are forgetting to make things fun. Yes, it's fun to overcome challenges, but I believe this DLC sometimes fails on communicating what really is the challenge you're supposed to overcome. I really didn't mind the addition of shadow tree fragments. I think it's a great addition and encourages replayability. My main highlights from this DLC are the legacy dungeons. They were really fun to explore and fight through, especially Shadowkeep, which is this sprawling maze-like tower-like library. Kind of reminded me of the Astro Clock Tower from Bloodborne DLC. You visit it multiple times during the playthrough, and each time it gets bigger and with more branching paths. Bellurat was also really good. I liked how it seamlessly transitions to the final area after you advance to a certain point in the story. The side dungeons were also a nice surprise and miles better than the ones in the base game. I also enjoyed most of the main bosses except for one. You probably already know which one. But the other main bosses felt like a natural progression from the main game. both in difficulty and presentation. Which makes sense, seeing that this DLC is supposed to be the last thing you do in the game. However, the final boss left me with a terrible lasting impression after completing it. Its first phase is okay, but the second phase is just laughable. It's so visually busy that I got a migraine after a couple of attempts. It doesn't feel fun to learn his moves because you're always constantly getting hit by stupid light beams even if you dodge. Overall, the final boss is an absolute mess of a fight, and I was very dissatisfied with it. Did I even play tested it? Another fight I had a problem with was the hippo, but not because of the fight itself, but because the camera was all over the place, including inside the boss itself. This has been a problem in the Souls series for a long time now. Whenever you're fighting a huge creature that moves around a lot, you can barely see it because when it gets too close to the camera, it just disappears and it's awful. I remember this being a problem in Dark Souls 2, and 10 years later, they still haven't found a way to fix it, and we are just supposed to accept that it's a video game thing, I guess. Honestly, I didn't mind the reused side bosses from the main game that much, except for the dragons. When you're fighting the same ghost flame dragon for the third time, which is already a reskin from the dragons in the main game, but this time, guess what? There are skeletons. Hooray. It's not bad, but it feels lazy. Why not do something different? Maybe add a dragon that flies a lot and you need to bring it down with ranged first before being able to do some damage. Or a dragon that doesn't have breath attacks, but is more aggressive with physical attacks. Oh well, at least we got Bale, which is one of the better things from this DLC.
Curse you, Bale!
Now, the thing that really impressed me was the amount of new items that we got, which is what will make me keep coming back to this game for a long time. I barely started to scratch the surface on the new weapons and weapon types. I am for the most part a PvP player, so I am really happy that now there's even more variety for making builds. Not only new weapons, but also new armor sets, spells, incantations, talismans, consumables, and also crystal tiers. There's even a new deflection mechanic similar to Sekiro. Sadly, it's tied to a crystal tier, so if you want to enable this, you have to drink from your wonderful physics flask. I think it will be much more practical if it was a talisman, especially in PvP. I believe that sometimes creative ideas need to be saved from themselves, and this DLC at times feels like a brainstorm of ideas without much direction. In the end, it's still greater than the sum of its parts, and overall, I feel like the positives outweigh the negatives. But it bothers me seeing that we could have gotten a much better experience if only FromSoft decided to step out of its comfort zone. Or rather, uncomfortable zone, I should say. And what about you? Did you like this DLC? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you liked this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel to get more videos like this, and I'll see you folks in the next video. Bye bye.